After 3 years of hidden marriage, I finally became the ideal wife in Evan's eyes, not demanding publicity, not questioning scandals. Even when he placed the jade bracelet symbolizing the hostess on his first love's wrist during the family banquet, I merely smiled and helped them adjust the angle for a photo. Evan suddenly reddened his eyes, snatched the camera, and smashed it to pieces. "Nina, can't you throw a tantrum even once?" I squatted down to pick up the pieces. As soon as my fingers touched the shattered glass, my fingertip was cut. "Don't pick it up!" Evan roared, his chest heaving violently. I looked up at him. "What a pity." I took out a tissue and leisurely wiped the dust off the lens. "There are still the photos I just took inside, the composition is quite good. That angle makes Miss Chloe's face look smaller." Evan stared at me intensely, his gaze as if he wanted to devour me. He grabbed my wrist tightly, with such force that the shards in my hand embedded into my flesh again. "Nina, do you have no heart?" He gritted his teeth, his voice squeezing out from between them. "What were you thinking when Mom gave that bracelet to Chloe just now? You were serving tea beside them? Are you still my wife?" I looked at his furious face and only found it amusing. What was I thinking? I thought the bracelet's quality was mediocre, not as valuable as the watch I auctioned at Sotheby's last year. I thought Chloe's wrist was too slender to carry off that air of opulence. I wondered when this charade would end so I could go home, take my medicine, and sleep. "Evan." I withdrew my hand. "Anger harms the body. There's a board meeting at 9 tomorrow morning, the Jiang family project hasn't been signed yet, you need to stay in top form." Evan was stunned. He seemed to expect me to cry, to make a scene, to smash those shards back at his face. But I didn't. I even smiled at him. "Get in the car, the driver has been waiting for a long time. Miss Chloe is still watching from behind, don't let her think our marriage is discordant." Evan's Adam's apple bobbed. He looked at me, the rage in his eyes slowly fading, turning into a panic I couldn't understand. "Nina." He released his hand, his voice hoarse. "Can't you even curse at me once?" "Why curse you?" I opened the car door, sat inside, and placed that pile of junk on my lap. "You did the right thing. In that setting, it's indeed unsuitable to publicize our relationship. Miss Chloe has just returned to the country, she needs the buzz and the Zhou family's protection." "I understand it all." Evan stood outside the car, the night wind disheveling his hair. He looked at me inside the car as if gazing at a stranger. "Drive," I said to the driver. The car window rose, blocking Evan's view. I lowered my head to look at the shards in my hand. The blood had stopped, leaving only a faint dark red trace. Quite good. This camera had been with me for 5 years, capturing wars and ruins, and finally met its end on the asphalt road of a wealthy family. It was a kind of liberation. Back at the villa, Evan hadn't returned yet. He was probably sending Chloe home. I didn't ask and went straight to the room. In the bathroom, I turned on the faucet, cold water rinsing the wound on my hand. The stinging sensation made me a bit more alert. The woman in the mirror had a pale face with faint dark circles under her eyes. This was Evan's most satisfactory wife, sensible, obedient, with no presence. The phone vibrated once. I dried my hands and swiped the screen. It was an all-English email. Sender, Reuters War Photography Department. The content was simple. "Ms. Nina, congratulations on passing the review. Please report to Damascus within 7 days. This is your employment confirmation letter and insurance policy." I stared at those words for a long time until the screen automatically turned off. 3 years ago, to marry Evan, I gave up my identity as a war correspondent and became a homemaker. Now, I want to reclaim it. The sound of an engine came from downstairs. Evan was back. I placed the phone face down on the washstand, twisted open the medicine bottle, poured out 2 antidepressant pills, and swallowed them dry. The door was pushed open. Evan walked in with a chill and a faint perfume scent. It was the perfume Chloe commonly used. "Not asleep yet?" He unbuttoned his cuffs and casually threw his jacket on the bed. "Just finished washing up. I turned around, wearing a standard smile on my face. Evan came over and hugged me from behind. About today's matter. Mom was also considering the bigger picture. He said, "Lee, Chloe has just returned, the Jiang family is watching closely, she needs some momentum. That bracelet was just lent to her to wear." "I know." I patted the back of his hand, "It looks quite nice." "You're not angry?" He turned my body around, staring into my eyes. "Why be angry?" I looked at him, my tone flat. "You are the head of the Zhou family, whatever you do has its reasons. As long as you're happy." Evan frowned, seemingly very dissatisfied with this answer. "Nina, you weren't like this before. People change." I pushed him away, walked to the bedside. "It's been a tiring day, let's sleep early." Evan stood in place, looking at my back for a long time without moving. "That camera." He suddenly spoke, "Tomorrow I'll have someone buy a new one for you. Hasselblad or Leica? What model do you want?" I lay in the quilt, back to him, closing my eyes. "No need." "Why?" "I'm not photographing anymore." Evan's footsteps stopped. "What do you mean?" "Nothing special." I pulled the quilt higher, covering my ears. "I just feel there's nothing worth photographing anymore. Before, I shot landscapes, then people. Now, it all seems quite meaningless." The room fell into dead silence. After a long time I heard Evan sigh, turn off the light, and lie beside me. He tried to reach out to hug me, but I subtly dodged. In the darkness, he said, "Nina, after this busy period, let's go skiing in Switzerland. Didn't you always want to go?" I didn't respond. Switzerland? By then, I should already be in the ruins of Syria, eating compressed biscuits, photographing real life and death. Departure countdown, 6th day. I was organizing luggage in the walk-in closet. Actually, there wasn't much to bring. In this villa, there were many things belonging to Nina, but few belonging to me. I flipped out an old leather suitcase, the one I brought when I moved in back then. From the suitcase's interlayer, a yellowed paper fell out. It was an ultrasound report. The date was today 1 year ago. I picked it up, my fingertip rubbing the blurry image on it. That day was also rainy. I had an ectopic pregnancy with massive bleeding and was taken to the hospital by ambulance. The doctor held the surgery form and asked where my family was. I said they were busy. Really busy. On the TV in the hospital lobby, the film festival red carpet was being broadcast live. Evan, in a custom black suit, gentlemanly bent down to lift Chloe's elaborate skirt hem. Chloe held his arm, smiling radiantly. Flashlights flickered wildly, reporters shouted, "Evan! Look this way. Is that the reunion of the love of the century?" Evan didn't deny it, just looked at Chloe indulgently, helping her fix her wind-blown hair. I was on the operating table, the anesthesia hadn't taken effect yet, pain making me sweat coldly. Nurses whispered beside, "Isn't that the president of Zhou Group? So handsome, so good to his girlfriend." "Yes, that female star is beautiful too, they make a perfect match." At that moment, looking at the shadowless lamp on the ceiling, tears flowed from the corners of my eyes into my ears, chilling to the bone. I signed the critical illness notice. When that incision was made, I felt something flowing out of my body. Not just an unformed child, but also my last bit of expectation for Evan. The surgery ended, I woke up, and on my phone was a WeChat message from Evan, "Social engagement tonight, not coming back. Sleep early yourself." I replied with one word, "Okay." From that day on, I died. The current Nina is just a walking corpse. "What are you looking at?" A voice suddenly came from the door. My hand trembled. I quickly crumpled the ultrasound report into a ball and stuffed it into my palm. Evan leaned on the doorframe, holding a cup of coffee, his eyes probing. "Nothing." I turned around and threw the ball of paper into the nearby trash bin, an old scrap of paper. Evan came over, his gaze sweeping over the old suitcase. "Why did you dig this out? Packing seasonal clothes?" I went along with his words, some old clothes I don't want to wear anymore, planning to donate them. Then throw them away and buy new ones. Evan said indifferently, reaching out to wrap his arm around my waist, there's a charity gala tonight, accompany me. My body stiffened slightly, do I have to go? Chloe will be there too. Evan looked down at me, his tone unquestionable, you are Mrs. Zhou, in such occasions, you must be present. Otherwise, the outside world will speculate wildly again. Looking at his matter-of-fact appearance, I suddenly found it ridiculous. When he needed a shield, I was his wife. When he needed to pave the way for Chloe, then I was his wife. Okay. I nodded, I'll go. This was the last time. Evan, this was the last act I performed for you. Evan was very satisfied with my attitude these days. Nina, that's right. He looked at me, his eyes carrying a satisfied smile, as long as you're obedient and don't throw tantrums, the position of my wife will always be yours. Chloe's side is just for show, you have to understand. Looking at his confident appearance, my heart had no ripples. I understand. I said smiling, go quickly, don't be late. Evan left. The car drove out of the courtyard, the iron gate slowly closed. The smile on my face disappeared instantly. I turned and went upstairs, packing all the expensive gowns, jewelry, and bags from the wardrobe. Madam, are you selling all these? These are all limited editions. The recycling guy looked at the luxury items all over the floor, his eyes wide. Sell. I sat on the sofa, holding a cup of plain water, convert all to cash and transfer to this card. That was my overseas account. Okay, please wait, I'll calculate. I watched those things I once treasured being packed one by one into woven bags, feeling only relief in my heart. These items, each one was a gift from Evan. Birthday gifts, anniversary gifts, apology gifts. Behind each was a weight, a disappointment, a compromise. Now, they turned into numbers, into my travel expenses and equipment costs for the battlefield. Quite cost-effective. In the evening, when Evan returned, he found the walk-in closet half empty. What's going on? He frowned at the empty racks. Sent for dry cleaning. I lied without changing my expression, some got damp, maintenance. Evan didn't suspect. He took out a velvet box from his pocket and handed it to me. Open it and see. I opened it. It was a diamond necklace, the main stone was large, dazzlingly shiny. Like it? He hugged me from behind, this is compensation for you. You were wrong the past few days. I looked at the necklace in the mirror, it resembled a dog collar. Thank you. I closed the lid, I like it very much. Help me put it on? He asked. Another day. I placed the box on the dressing table, too tired today, neck a bit sore. Evan didn't insist, just released me somewhat disappointedly. Okay, rest early then. He turned and went to the study. I looked at the box and threw it into the bottom drawer. Too lazy even to sell it. Found it dirty. Countdown, second day. Chloe invited me for afternoon tea. When I arrived, she was already seated. Wearing the latest haute couture of the season, with that jade bracelet on her wrist, swaying dizzily in the sunlight. Sister Nina, sit. She smiled sweetly, but I could see the provocation in her eyes. Miss Chloe, is there something? I sat down, not touching the coffee in front of me. Nothing major. Chloe stirred her spoon, just want to thank you. At the family banquet that day, thanks to you for helping me out. Brother Evan said you're the most sensible. You're welcome. I said faintly, just mutual benefit. Chloe's movement paused, then she smiled even brighter. Sister Nina is really perceptive. She leaned forward, lowering her voice, actually, I quite pity you. Holding an empty title, watching your husband accompany other women every day, it must feel bad, right? It's okay. I looked out the window, got used to it. Used to it? Chloe sneered, you can really endure. But then, for a woman like you with no background or family, marrying into the Zhou family is already burning high incense. Besides enduring, what else can you do? She picked up the red wine in front of her, pretending to slip. The whole glass spilled on me. The white shirt instantly stained blood red. Oh! Chloe exclaimed exaggeratedly, sorry, Sister Nina, my hand slipped. Are you okay? People around looked over. I lowered my head to look at the wine stain on me, saying nothing. At that moment, a commotion came from the door. Evan arrived. He strode over, seeing this scene, his face instantly darkened. What's going on? Brother Evan. Chloe immediately reddened her eyes, looking frightened. I accidentally spilled wine on Sister Nina. I didn't mean to. Evan glanced at her, then at me. He took off his suit jacket, draped it over me, and wrapped it tight. Then, he turned around and raised his hand. Slap. The crisp sound of the slap made the entire restaurant quiet instantly. Chloe covered her face, looking at him incredulously. Brother Evan, you hit me? Apologize. Evan said coldly. What? Apologize to Nina. Evan's voice carried a chill. Who gave you the audacity to touch her? Chloe was stunned, tears falling in large drops. You hit me for her? Didn't you say? Shut up. Evan interrupted her. Apologize. Chloe bit her lip, looking at me unwillingly. Sorry. After saying that, she ran out crying. Evan turned around, looking at me with a hint of seeking credit. Are you okay? He reached out to wipe the wine stain on my face. I tilted my head to dodge. I'm fine. I tightened the jacket, my tone calm. I'll go to the bathroom to handle it. Evan's hand stiffened in midair. Nina, I vented for you. He said behind me, no one will dare bully you in the future. I walked into the bathroom and closed the door. Looking at my disheveled self in the mirror, I used tissues to wipe off the wine stains bit by bit. Venting? Evan, do you really think I can't see it? That slap wasn't for me. It was because Chloe was too stupid, acting in public, breaking your rules and damaging the Zhou family's face. You were making an example, warning the Jiang family. And I was just your tool for establishing authority. Countdown, last day. I placed the signed divorce agreement in a file bag and drove to the Zhou group. Through the gap, I saw Chloe hugging Evan. Suddenly felt that leaving without notice was fine, there was nothing left to settle between us. I'll be my war correspondent, he'll accompany his new love. I handed the divorce agreement to the front desk and left. I hailed a taxi. To the airport. The car merged into traffic, the city's neon lights sped backward outside the window. I took out my phone, removed the SIM card, snapped it, and threw it out the window. Goodbye, Evan. From now on, I am Nina. Just Nina. In the office, Evan pushed Chloe away, brows furrowed. Enough. He said coldly, Chloe, this is the company. Brother Evan. Chloe cried with tears like pear blossoms in rain. I really don't know what to do. My dad is forcing me to marry that old man. Save me. That's your Jiang family's matter. Evan straightened his wrinkled shirt. I've helped you this far. That's already the utmost benevolence. As agreed initially, I give you resources, you help me block those marriages. Now the deal is over. Deal? Chloe widened her eyes. To me, really just a deal? What else? Evan's gaze was indifferent. My wife doesn't like me having scandals outside. These days because of you, she's already very unhappy. I don't want her to misunderstand anymore. Chloe laughed miserably. Nina? That wouldn't figure who only serves tea and water? You reject me for her? She's not wooden. Evan's voice sank. She's my wife. Don't let me hear you badmouth her again. After saying that, he pressed the intercom. See the guest out. Chloe was escorted out by security. Evan sighed in relief, rubbing his temples. Finally resolved. These 3 months, he set this trap to annex the Jiang family's market share and incidentally clear all obstacles for Nina. Now the Jiang family has fallen, he achieved great victory. He took out a velvet box from the drawer. Inside was a pink diamond ring. It was ordered 3 months ago, to be given to Nina today. Nina, from now on, we don't need to hide anymore. He looked at the ring, a smile curling his lips, we can be together openly. He eagerly grabbed his coat and headed out. Passing the front desk, the receptionist called him, Evan, Miss Nina came by earlier. Evan's steps paused, where is she? Left. The receptionist handed over the file bag, she said to give this to you, you'll understand after reading. And said, she's catching a flight. Catching a flight? Evan suddenly felt a strong unease. He snatched the file bag, tore it open. Several papers slid out. The top one boldly stated 5 big words, divorce agreement. In the bottom right corner, Nina's name was signed neatly, with force penetrating the paper. Evan's hand trembled. Evan rushed madly into the elevator, heading straight to the underground garage. He sped all the way back to the villa. Pushing open the door, the house was pitch black, no lights, no aroma of food. Nina. No response. He rushed upstairs, pushed open the bedroom door. The wardrobe was wide open, empty inside. The dressing table was clean, nothing left. Only on the bedside table was the camera lens that had been smashed and glued back. That cracked like a scar, spanning the glass, mockingly looking at him. Evan tremblingly picked up the lens. Under it was a note. The handwriting was scrawled, as if written in haste, Evan, the lens is broken, even glued, it can't be used. People are the same. Evan's legs weakened, he slumped to the ground. Immense panic flooded him like a tide. He won the business war, won the world, but lost her. 3 months later. Middle East, a border town. Artillery fire rumbled kilometers away, the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder and dust. I lay behind a broken wall, holding the newly bought cannon, lens aimed forward. A group of children were playing soccer in the ruins. The ball was wrapped in rags, but that didn't hinder their bright smiles. Click. The shutter pressed. The scene froze. That long-lost thrill climbed up my spine. This was the feeling of being alive. Nina. Retreat. Air raid alert. Partner Ollie shouted from behind. I put away the camera, crouched, and ran back. Just as I ran into the refugee camp's temporary tent, I bumped into someone. That person wore an ill-fitting haute couture suit, though covered in dust, the tailoring was still exquisite. I was stunned. Evan. He had lost a lot of weight, deep eye sockets, chin full of stubble, disheveled like a fleeing refugee. But those eyes stared fixedly at me, as if to engrave me into his bones. Nina. His voice was hoarse, reaching out to grab me. I stepped back, avoiding. Evan? I patted the dust off me, tone flat, here for business? No red carpet here, nor your Miss Chloe. Evan's hand stiffened in midair. He looked at me, his eyes reddening instantly. Come back with me. He said tremblingly, it's too dangerous here. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? I'm not going back. I turned to organize equipment, this is my job post. Job? Evan panicked, grabbing my arm, you'll die. The neighboring block was just bombed flat yesterday. To avoid me, you don't even want your life? Let go. I looked at him coldly, Evan, my life is my own. I'll use it as I wish. I won't let go. He gripped me tightly, with astonishing strength, I was wrong before, I'm a bastard, I deserve to die. Hit me, curse me, anything, but you must come back with me. I can't watch you die here. The surrounding refugees and volunteers looked over. I felt very tired. Evan, can't you understand human language? I shook off his hand, I don't love you anymore. I don't hate you, but I don't love you either. To me, you're like a brick in these ruins, utterly meaningless. Evan's face turned ashen instantly. He staggered, as if his spine was pulled out. Utterly meaningless? He murmured. Yes. I looked at him, utterly meaningless. Evan wouldn't give up. He lingered in the refugee camp, following me like a tail. When I took photos, he handed water beside me. When I edited pictures, he fanned beside me. Those volunteers thought he was my mentally ill suitor. On the third night, we had a fierce argument on the street. Nina, the car is outside, we must leave tonight. Evan forcibly pulled my suitcase. The embassy has issued evacuation notice. If we don't leave now, it'll be too late. I'm not leaving. I snatched back the suitcase. I need to finish this set of photos. This is my mission. Is the mission more important than life? Evan roared, you weren't like this before. You used to fear pain and death the most. For me, you even gave up that camera. Why torture yourself like this now? Because back then I thought it was worth it. I roared back, 3 years of pent-up emotions erupting at this moment. Evan, who do you think I became like that for? Do you think I naturally like revolving around the kitchen? Then tell me why. Evan asked forcefully with red eyes, why leave suddenly? Why not even give me an explanation? Because I don't want to be your target anymore. I pointed at his nose, tears finally flowing uncontrollably. You said it was to protect me, so hidden marriage, so not public. But do you know what your so-called protection made me lose? Evan was stunned. Lose what? The child. I roared those 2 words. The surroundings instantly quieted. Evan stiffened in place, pupils contracting sharply. What, child? 1 year ago, on our anniversary. I looked at him, each word laced with blood. I was in the hospital having ectopic pregnancy surgery, massive bleeding, signing critical notice. And where were you? On the red carpet lifting Chloe's skirt. Evan's face lost all color instantly, as if struck by lightning. That day, you said you were sleeping at home. What could I say? I laughed miserably. Say I was miscarrying? Say I was dying? Would you believe? Would you come? Even if you came, could the child come back? I didn't know. Evan trembled all over, tears bursting out. I really didn't know. Nina, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. I wiped away tears, looking at him coldly. You only know your empire, your schemes, your face. In your eyes, I'm just an obedient ornament. If the ornament breaks, fix it. But Evan, a broken heart can't be fixed. Evan knelt down. Right on this dusty street, the once arrogant Evan knelt before me. He held his head, emitting beast-like painful whimpers. Sorry. I looked at him, no ripple in my heart. Too late. Everything was too late. At that moment, the shrill air raid siren tore through the night sky. Before I could react, I was tackled to the ground by immense force. Huge explosion sounds blasted in my ears, the ground shook violently. Followed by the sound of buildings collapsing, smoke and dust instantly engulfed everything. I felt something heavy smashing down. The person on me grunted, his body sinking heavily, yet still propping up firmly, not pressing on me. Evan? I called his name in the darkness. Cough. I'm here. His voice was weak, carrying a heavy bloody smell. I tried to move but found we were trapped in a narrow triangular space. Above was a huge concrete slab. Evan was using his back to hold it, creating a small survival space for me. How are you? I groped to touch him. My hand was warm and wet. All blood. Fine. He gasped, just a minor injury. He even laughed slightly. Nina, don't be afraid. This time, I won't go walk the red carpet again. I cried, unable to speak. Don't cry. He laboriously raised a hand, touched my face. Before, always made you cry. He said intermittently, from now on, no crying. Smile, you look best when smiling. Evan's body trembled suddenly, more blood dripped on my face. He couldn't hold on much longer. In the darkness, time became long and unbearable. Evan's breathing grew weaker. Nina. Actually, there's something I never told you. The year we married, my dad just died, several uncles were eyeing covetously. Someone sent me a threat letter saying to kill the person I love most. I was stunned. I was afraid. He coughed twice, spitting blood foam, afraid they'd target you, so I didn't dare publicize, didn't dare be good to you, even deliberately used Chloe as a shield. I thought, as long as I don't love you, you'd be safe. Tears blurred my vision. So that's it. This was his so-called protection. How foolish, how self-righteous. You idiot. I cried and cursed him, why didn't you tell me? We're husband and wife. Yes. I'm really stupid. He smiled bitterly, I thought. I could control everything. In the end, I pushed you into the abyss. He moved his fingers, took something from his pocket, and stuffed it into my hand. It was a ring. Stained with blood, I could still feel the diamond's edges. This is what I wanted to give you that day. His voice grew lower, originally planned to propose again, seems, no chance now. There is a chance. I gripped the ring tightly, Evan, hold on. Rescue team is coming soon. When you're better, you can propose as many times as you want. Really? Really? Then, can you say once more, you love me? I opened my mouth, my throat felt blocked. Love? It was a habit engraved in my bones, how could I forget just like that? Forget it. He interrupted me, voice gentle like wind, don't force it. I know. I don't deserve it. Digging sounds came from outside. Anyone? Yes. Here. I shouted desperately, save people quickly. Light seeped in. Several rescuers cleared the rubble, the gap was too small, could only save one at a time. Evan pushed suddenly, shoving me toward the rescuer's hands. At the instant I was pulled out. That concrete slab held for so long lost support and smashed down heavily. Evan! I screamed heartrendingly. At the last moment, I looked back. Through the flying dust, I saw his face. He was crushed under the ruins, only eyes exposed. In those eyes, no fear, no pain. Only gentleness and relief. Evan died. On the funeral day, it rained heavily. Chloe came. She rushed over madly, trying to push me. It's you. You killed brother Evan. If not for finding you, how could he die? Bodyguards stopped her. I looked at her coldly, like watching a clown. The one who killed him wasn't me. I said faintly, it was you all. You, and the Zhou family's man-eating rules. Nonsense. Chloe screamed, you jinx. Why do you inherit his estate? Those are all mine. Yes, the estate. The lawyer read the will. All shares, properties, funds under Evan's name were left to me. Even including the villa we lived in. In the will, he wrote one sentence, this is my compensation to Nina. Though I know some things can never be compensated. Throw her out. I said to the bodyguards. Chloe was dragged away, curses fading. The world finally quieted. I squatted down, placed that blood-stained ring before the tombstone. Rain hit my face, couldn't tell tears from rain. I stood up, turned, and left. No looking back. 1 year later. Pulitzer Photography Award ceremony. I stood on the podium, spotlights on me, somewhat dazzling. On the big screen, my award-winning work was shown, Eyes Under the Ruins. That was Evan's last photo. In black and white tones, amid flying dust, those eyes gentle to heartbreak. The host asked, Miss Nina, is there a story behind this photo? I heard the person in the photo is your lover? The audience was quiet. I subconsciously touched my wrist. There was a faint scar, from the broken lens cut back then. Yes. I spoke into the microphone, voice calm. He was a very foolish person. He thought love was possession, protection, caging the bird. Later, the cage broke, the bird flew away. He used his life to give that bird the sky. The host was somewhat moved. Do you hate him? I smiled. Hated. But he taught me what love is, and what freedom is. I don't hate him, but I love my current self more. Applause thundered. I held the trophy, looking at the audience. In a daze, I seemed to see someone standing in the crowd. Wearing a black suit, tie impeccably knotted, looking at me gently, lips with that familiar, slightly arrogant smile. I blinked. The illusion disappeared. I took a deep breath, turned, and walked off the stage. The door opened, outside, sunlight brilliant. I held the camera and strode out. The wind was strong, but I knew I was free.